You have guns because you like guns. That's why you go to gun conventions. That's why you read gun magazines. None of you give a shit about home security. None of you go to home security conventions. None of you read Padlock Monthly. None of you have a Facebook picture of you behind a secure door going, fucking yeah.
When you say what are we going to do, the number one thing is we have to have sensible gun laws. I mean, everyone agrees. I don't understand why anyone would want an AR-15. The reasons I've heard was for collectible reasons. I don't understand. You don't go hunting with them. You don't shoot with them, I don't believe. You don't defend your house with them. I'm not so sure why we have AR-15s and why we can't have just a ban on this weapon that, for the most part, kills so many people in a short period of time.
Yes, lately firearms enthusiasts have been taking their guns out to public places for play dates with other gun owners and their guns. And in the process, frightening lots of properly adjusted people at places like Sonic and Chili's and Chipotle and Jack in the Box, proving once again that America's gun laws are worthless and sad.
Well, let me read the letter in full.
Sure.
This was a letter that he penned along with Presidents Ford and Carter in 1994 to Congress. While we recognise that assault weapon legislation will not stop all assault weapon crime, statistics prove that we can dry up the supply of these guns, making them less accessible to criminals. We urge you to listen to the American public and to the law enforcement community in support of a ban on the further manufacture of these weapons. That was Ronald Reagan.
Okay, so? I mean, I can disagree with Ronald Reagan.
You keep framing this as a left-right debate.
No, I mean,
I'm putting it to you.
How is this a left-right?
One of the great right-wing presidents of modern times agreed with me.
So?
Because I'm a responsible gun owner, I keep my guns locked in a safe. Then there's no fucking protection! Someone comes into the house, you're like, wait there, fuckface. Oh, you've come to the wrong house here, buddy boy.
And we need to have something in force. It's ridiculous that we have 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds and 25-year-olds with these type of weapons. And in Las Vegas, I believe the man was 49 years old.
Okay.
I mean, look at this guy at Chipotle. Now, you might not be able to see him because he's wearing a camouflage hat. But trust me, there is a man standing there. And I'm sure he would say that he's just exercising his rights, and by the looks of him, that's the only thing he's exercising. But what does he or any of these patriots imagine is going through the minds of sane people when they see this?
I know the Second Amendment. What I haven't heard is one coherent reason why any civilian in America needs an AR-15 military-style assault weapon.
Right? I've had people come up to me in my face and scream at me in car parks as I'm leaving the theatre, going, "You cannot change the Second Amendment." And I'm like, yes, you can. It's called an amendment. Like, if you can't change something, it's called an amendment. See, many of you need a thesaurus more than you need a constitution. And if you don't know what a thesaurus is, get a dictionary, work your way forward.
Do you feel, because we've been learning about just other missed signals here, right, that there were warnings about Nicholas Cruz before this. Do you feel let down by not just the school resource officer and the police, but the other authorities involved here, the FBI, the school district?
Absolutely. I can't say that I'm not disappointed, and I'm not surprised either.
Goodness, why aren't you surprised?
Well, I mean, everyone in our school, including parents and teachers and faculty and students, everyone has reported this kid. And we thought that we did everything in our power to get him off of school grounds, get him away from us, because he was a violent and malicious person. And that was obvious. And kids would even joke about how he was going to be the next school shooter. And as students, we could only do so much. We thought that if we put it into the hands of the law and the hands of our government, that it would be handled. But unfortunately, as students, now we have to take action because our government is failing us, our system is failing us, and we won't be stopped.
You're saying that other students used to joke about him becoming a school shooter?
Absolutely, because of how violent he was and how erratic he was.
When 8 nitwits walked into Chili's last month, armed to the teeth, or at least to where their teeth would be if they had any, a concerned mother asked, "What are you doing here?" To which one of them said, representing our Second Amendment rights. We lose them if we don't use them. Well, no, Cletus, actually. You don't. They're constitutional rights. You can't lose them. Perhaps you're thinking of frequent flyer miles. And, you know, that's the thing about gun culture. There's not a lot of culture. It's mostly about the guns. And the problem isn't just that they're so legal in America. It's that they're so beloved. Guns aren't just a tool of last resort. They're awesome.
One of the things that you seem to suggest is that an 18-year-old shouldn't be able to buy an AR-15. And in fact, look, if you listen to the president, he seems receptive to the idea of maybe raising that age limit to 21. The president might be willing to go there, at least tonight he is. The NRA put out a statement, though, over the last hour where they said no, they're not in favor of it. Is this something you will push the president on?
Well, when I say an 18-year-old shouldn't be able to, that was a direct reference to myself. Mm-hmm. Nobody should be able to. Mm. Nobody.
Don't think your constitution is set in stone. You've changed things before. You used to have prohibition in there, right? And then people were like, hey, who likes getting fucked up? Yeah, I like getting fucked up too. Let's get that one out. Let's get that one out. You used to have this other thing in America called slavery. And then Lincoln came along and went, that's it, no more slaves. And 50% of you went, fuck you, don't take my slaves. And then the same bullshit arguments came out that you have with guns. Why should I have my slaves taken off me? I'm a responsible slave owner. I am trained in how to use my slaves safely. Just because that guy mistreated his slaves doesn't mean that my rights should be taken away from me. I use my slaves to protect my family. I keep my slaves locked in a safe.
What can possibly justify anyone being able to buy 42 weapons, many of which were high-powered semi-automatic rifles? How can you justify that?
Piers, here you go again. There is nothing exceptionally high-powered about an AR-15. In fact, it shoots the most low-powered center-fire rifle cartridge available on the market in the United States.
The man just shot 600 people. Of course they're high-powered. Okay. We heard the bullets go off ourselves. We heard them firing, Dan. You're talking complete and utter nonsense.
There are 20 different calibers of very common hunting rifle cartridges that will go through any police officer's vest, period. They're not classified as armor piercing. They're not anything that are regulated at all. The facts are the AR-15 is the least powerful center-fire rifle on the market in the United States, period.
Well, then there's even bigger problems, isn't there? If the semi-automatic AR-15 this guy used to shoot 600 people in a few minutes, it's the least high-powered, then the problem's even bigger than we think.
That's why people stroke them and name them and take pictures with them. You guys aren't just firearm enthusiasts, you're ammosexuals.
Now is not the time to debate adult films. In fact, just ask Florida State Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith. He was furious that the House was choosing to focus on protecting kids from porn instead of from guns.
I'm curious as to the prioritization of this bill and how urgent of an issue this is. Has anyone ever been physically handicapped, like, for example, confined to a wheelchair and unable to work as a result of porn being such a major health risk? Has any first responder ever needed to seek counseling for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, as a result of their maybe addiction to pornography?
See, one of the better arguments is, well, if you take the guns away, then only the criminals will have guns. Not true. When they banned the guns in Australia, it worked. When they banned them in Britain, it worked. Okay. That Bushmaster gun that the kid was going to use in Sandy Hook cost like $1,000 American. You can buy it in Walmart. It'll be delivered to your house. That's it, man. $1,000. right? That same gun in Australia on the black market costs $34,000.
I think all bullets should cost $5,000. $5,000 for a bullet. You know why? Because if a bullet costs $5,000, there'll be no more innocent bystanders. Be it. Be it. Every time somebody gets shot, you be like, damn, he must have did something. Should they put $50,000 worth of bullets in his ass? And people will think before they kill somebody if a bullet costs $5,000. Man, I would blow your fucking head off if I could afford it.
Now, the silver lining in all this is that these heavily armed flash mobs that have been alarming people in restaurants lately have managed to do what thousands of progressive legislators could not. They got guns banned. Yeah, one by one, all these restaurants said, no, sorry, you can no longer take a gun into Chipotle or Chili's or Applebee's or Wendy's or Jack in the Box. From now on, if you want to dine in one of these places, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way by eating their food.
In every one of these cases, they say if there were more guns, it would have only led to more chaos.
I'm so frustrated, I'm so furious that these kids have been blown away again with legally acquired weapons. Some boy who's got problems takes his mother's 3 weapons, including this ridiculous assault rifle, and goes into school and kills his kids. And you guys on the gun lobby still want to tell me the answer is more guns. Look, it is madness.
I'm so tired of listening to some of these leftists dismiss and attack Christians, Christianity, and our traditional beliefs. These elitists looking down on gun owners as if we're just a bunch of rednecks.
Once upon a time, there were these people in Europe called pilgrims, and they were afraid of being persecuted. So they all got in a boat and sailed to the New World where they wouldn't have to be scared ever again.
Oh, I'm so relaxed. I feel so much safer.
But as soon as they arrived, they were greeted by savages, and they got scared all over again. So they killed them all. Now, you'd think wiping out a race of people would calm them down, but no. Instead, they started getting frightened of each other. Witch! So they burned witches. In 1775, they started killing the British so they could be free. And it worked, but they still didn't feel safe. So they passed a Second Amendment which said every white man could keep his gun. I loves my gun. Loves my gun. Which brings us to the genius idea of slavery. You see, boys and girls, the white people back then were also afraid of doing any work. So they went to Africa, kidnapped thousands of black people, brought them back to America, and forced them to work very hard for no money. And I don't mean no money like I work at Walmart and make no money. I mean $0. Nothing. Not a zip. Doing it that way made the USA the richest country in the world. So did having all that money and free help calm the white people down? No way. They got even more afraid. That's because after 200 years of slavery, the black people now outnumbered the white people in many parts of the South. Well, you can pretty much guess what came next. The slaves started rebelling. There were uprisings, and old master's heads got chopped off. And when white people heard of this, they were freaking out and going, I want to live. Don't kill me, big black man. Well, just in the nick of time came Samuel Colt, who in 1836 invented the first weapon ever that could be fired over and over without having to reload. And all the southern whites were like, yeah! But it was too late. The North soon won the Civil War and the slaves were freed. Yep, they were free now to go chop all the old masters' heads off. And everybody was like, oh no, we're gonna die. But the freed slaves took no revenge. They just wanted to live in peace. But you couldn't convince the white people of this. So they formed the Ku Klux Klan. And in 1871, the same year the Klan became an illegal terrorist organization, another group was founded, the National Rifle Association. Soon politicians passed one of the first gun laws, making it illegal for any black person to own one. It was a great year for America, the KKK and the NRA. Of course, they had nothing to do with each other, and this was just a coincidence. One group legally promoted responsible gun ownership, and the other group shot and lynched black people. And that's the way it was all the way to 1955, when a black woman broke the law by refusing to move to the back of the bus. White people just couldn't believe it.
Huh? Well, I won't say move.
What's going on? Man, all hell broke loose. Black people everywhere started demanding their rights, and white people had a major freaky field meltdown, and they were all like, run away! Run away! And they did. They all ran fleeing to the suburbs where it was all white and safe and clean. And they went out and bought 250 million guns and put locks on the doors, alarms in the houses, and gates around the neighborhoods. And finally, they were all safe and secure and snug as a bug. And everyone lived happily ever after.